Steph was breathtaking in that order.
Doing my job.
Curry in his bag.
I know my energy will never die. I need my inner peace and peace of mind. I'm making history with all the guys. I am not satisfied with getting by. For the momentum.
The Warriors have responded.
The pads don't matter. We just got to raise our level of intensity. They raise theirs, we got to raise ours.
I know they feel it, they feel the momentum.
Not getting any easier. It's only getting tougher. So
I know they feel it, they feel it.
got to take that up another couple notches.
I know how Steph feels trying to just do my job too, but it's tough with these two cats. When you got these big-time personalities, Christopher Mad Dog Russo, it is Wednesday. It is great to have you,
Always
sir.
a pleasure, Molly. How are you?
Looking dapper.
Okay.
I'm excellent. How are you? SA coming from Beantown. How we feel? Stephen A., you're looking younger today. Did you get a haircut or something?
Well, I got a haircut a couple of days ago. I had a haircut before I walked the studio yesterday, first of all. And secondly, 54 is the new 30. What can I say? What's up, doggy boy? What's up, doggy boy? How you doing?
As usual, I outdress you with a beautiful new blazer. With a beautiful new blazer, Mr. Stephen A. Not only are you getting beat, not only is he getting beat debate-wise, now he's getting beat attire-wise.
Yeah, I know.
That's a problem.
And it didn't take long.
That's a problem. Go ahead.
Oh, Lord, please don't start out the show lying to the American public, okay? First of all, you can never outdress me. That can never happen, even though, obviously, your wife's dressing you with that blazer. It is very, very nice. Secondly, Molly, you look very nice yourself. Very nice. Thirdly, and more importantly, I got a blazer, but it's a little warm up in here and stuff like that, so I just sat up there and took the jacket off, the shirt and the tie. Look at me. I mean, there are worse things to look at, okay? Let's move on. Let's move on.
Really?
Yes,
Really?
yes.
That's all I got to say. Game 3 tonight in Boston. The series is all knotted up at 1-1. The egos I deal with. I mean, I'm going to write a book someday. Two big storylines thus far in the finals are Clay's shooting struggles and Draymond towing the line with this play, almost picking up 2 techs in Game 2. Here's Steve Kerr on what Dre needs to do.
Well, just let him be him. You know, he's at his best when he's passionate and emotional, and I thought he played a great game the other night. He got the early tech, but he left the officials alone all night. And, the play is always going to be physical in the playoffs. And, being physical is part of it. So the main thing is you have to leave the officials alone, and Draymond did a good job of that.
I don't think it's the talking as much, as the physicality that they brought. That was noticeable, and we know obviously that's what Green does. I told him if I was a player or who I was, I'd probably get a double technical immediately, but that's not everybody. And so do what you do and block it out or meet physicality with physicality.
All right. Meanwhile, Klay Thompson has struggled through the first 2 games of the NBA Finals, having averaged just 13 points on 30% shooting. Klay's gotten off to slow starts in each series this postseason, averaging just over 15 points per game in games 1 and 2, while finishing them off with an average of 22 points per game. Bigger concern, Mad Dog, is it Klay's poor shooting or is it Draymond's costly antics?
Well, I think that Draymond will have a little trouble here on the road. I think, first off, that loose ball tie-up that he got in the first 30 seconds of the game, that is the most overrated plays in the history of the NBA Finals. The Celtics outscored, they went on a 22-14 run to start the game and had 30 points in the first quarter. So the idea that he set the tempo on a tie-up with Al Horford, that is absurd premise. They played good defense in the game, but not because of that tie-up in the first couple minutes, first couple plays. I think that Green on the road, it's a little trickier. At home, the crowd gets into it. The officials give him the benefit of the doubt. I think, he got that push Grant Williams that could have been called an offensive foul. They called it a defensive block. That's not going to happen this time on the road. He's going to get called for that. So I think when he plays on the edge, which is what he needs to do, we understand that, I don't think it's as effective away from home than it would be at the Chase Center. So that would very much concern me tonight because, him playing 21 minutes in foul trouble with a technical foul, scoring his 4 points and 5 rebounds, that is not going to be enough. They're going to need better from him tonight. So I think on the road for Green would scare me a little bit if I was Steve Kerr.
Klay Thompson's a bigger concern for me. Klay Thompson's a bigger concern for me. I can appreciate the concerns about Draymond Green. My only concern about Draymond Green is that all it takes is for one ref to have an attitude and decide that I'm going to eject you. And that would be that. And by the way, I love me some Steve Kerr. I think he's one of the great coaches the NBA has ever seen and one of the great people. I respectfully am accusing him of not telling the truth when he said that Draymond Green left the referees alone. I don't know. Maybe Steve Kerr was preoccupied with everything else going on around the court. But that is not true that Draymond Green left the referees alone. He was talking all day long. And even after he got teed up, there was one play when he got called for foul, and he's sitting there next to the referee, his shoulders rubbing up against the referee, being demonstrative for at least a full minute. No, he was not leaving the referees alone. Having said all of that, it's Klay Thompson that is my concern. I'm partial to shooters. You know how I am, Dougie. It's about that offense, baby. It's about putting the ball in the hole. And we're talking about a 3-time champion, one of the greatest shooters to have ever played the game of basketball in Klay Thompson, averaging 30 points on 30% shooting from the field, 26% from three-point range. I would remind everybody, just like Steph Curry, prior to this season, practically every single season Klay Thompson has played in the NBA, he has shot better than 40% from three-point range. That's how lethal he is. And to see him struggling the way that he's struggling, shooting 4 of 19 from the field in Game 2, shooting 30% from the field, 26% from three-point range, I mean, that is not the Klay Thompson that I know. And I respect the Boston Celtics. So much so, I think that Klay's greatness is needed in order for the Golden State Warriors to win the chip. Now, obviously, I've said the 2 of the 3, Jordan Poole, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, 2 of the 3 got to get off. But I've leaned more towards Klay because Klay is not just he's not just a marksman, but he's lethal in the sense that it's very, very timely. He shows up in big money, in big moments. He's not just a front runner. This brother will sit up there and hit clutch shot after clutch shot after clutch shot. That is what I believe they will need in order to win the championship. So I'm very, very concerned about Klay Thompson because to me, he's that difference. If Klay Thompson gets it going, considering the way Steph Curry's already playing, Golden State wins. It's that simple.
I think he makes a very fair point. The other thing that's fascinating, too, is I think they need 70 points from Poole, Thompson, and Curry to get through these games. In Game 1, they scored 58 points, and they lost 120-108. So from that standpoint, that 70 would have gotten them a tie. You can't expect Poole to play nearly as well on the road as he does at home. And he is not going to be dominant tonight in Boston. So, Stevie, I agree with you. Curry's going to do what he does because he's great. So I understand that. You're right. 4 out of 19, expect Poole not to score as much. They need a much better performance out of Thompson. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I know injuries for 2 years. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I'm going to expect him to bounce back and have one of those days where he makes 6 or 7 threes. I'm going to give him that because he's going to have a game like that. He's too good. I'm not going to buy the fact he's over the hill yet. Green, no, he's not over the hill, but he's coming off 2 major injuries, Stevie. He'll be fair.
He'll be better. He'll be better next year. He'll be better next year.
Yeah, he'll be better next year.
100%. Will be better next year.
Yeah, he's coming off 2. He didn't miss 2 years. I'm worried about Green because he's very fortunate. You're 100% right. He yelled the whole game, and he's very lucky, and it was good officiating by Zach Zarber and all the guys. Zach Zarber, he should have been thrown out of the game when he got into that altercation with Jaylen Brown.
No, he shouldn't have.
You can make the argument. He already got the 1 technical. You can make an argument that's a double T. No, I wouldn't have called it, but you can make that argument. And if you make that argument, he's out of the game. He's not going to get that benefit of the doubt tonight, Steve. Let
me respond to this because I want to say this in front of you. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again today. When you talk about the double T, you're absolutely right. They probably would have both been teed up if the referee was not aware of the fact that that second T would have ejected Draymond Green from the game. I'm one of those people. I don't want to hear all of these nonsensical folks that just officiate the game, don't pay attention to the moment, to the significance. Oh, hell no. It's the NBA Finals. You certainly should pay attention to that moment. Those referees certainly should have taken into consideration a second T would have ejected Draymond Green because we don't want a situation where the referees are being pointed at as it pertains to determining the outcome of a championship round. We don't want that. We want that decided by the players. So the fact that Green ended up staying in the game, I applaud that decision by the referees not to tee them up, knowing it would have led to an ejection by Green. Having said that, I will say this to you. Klay Thompson will be better next year, as I just reiterated. But I want to emphasize this point. You brought up 70 points between the three. I disagree. Even if it's 60 between Steph and Klay, think about the profound impact that has on the opposing defense. It's not about the numbers. It's about the efficiency. When Klay puts it up and Steph puts it up, if they're both going in, that creates havoc. Because the fear of God comes into the opposition because you know what they're capable of. So even if they both had 30, they'll petrify you to such a degree that it compromises everything you want to do defensively, and it opens up other opportunities for other people. Even an Otto Porter, even a Gary Payton Jr., even a Draymond, or, the list just goes on and on. Looney, for crying out loud. If those two get going, it changes the scope of everything.
That's a fair point.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why Klay's needed.
That's smart. Good job. It's still a game of mathematics, however, and you got to figure out a way to get to 100 points. And if you don't get 70, that's 10 less. Who's going to get you those 10 more points on the road in a big spot? Remember, a lot of these role guys are good in their building. When they go on the road, it's a different story. That crowd is brutal. That's noisy. This is an NBA Finals. That's going to be a little intimidating. Poole's not going to go tonight and make 6 threes. He's not making a half-court shot.
Last point,
Keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Last point, Molly. Remember, Doggy, Golden State scored 108 in the first game, 107 in the second game. So they're getting their points. The difference is Boston went from 120 in game 1 to 32 points less, 88 in game 2. So when you're talking about that, I mean, Golden State's offense is not the issue. Golden State's ability to shut down Boston in game 2 was the issue.
But they did get destroyed and only scored 16 points in the fourth quarter of game 1. They got outscored 40-16.
40-16.
16 points for a Golden State team that had been averaging about 35 in the postseason in these fourth quarters at the Chase. That's not enough points, Steve.
And still ended up with 108, even though
they got a couple of things late with garbage.
So what does that tell you?
Steve, they scored 16 points.
I just said they averaging 107
points.
Didn't I just say they averaging 107? They averaging 107 points, even with the bad fourth quarter.
All right, gentlemen, let's stay with Game 2 here, the NBA Finals, which slipped from the Celtics in the final 4:30 of the third quarter as the Warriors would go on to outscore the Celtics 19-2 on 5 of 6 three-pointers, while the Celtics did not make a single shot. The Celtics have struggled in the third quarter this postseason, having a negative 37-point differential. Here's Marcus Smart.
Well, I've said it before, we've been knocked down a lot early on in the season, so we know what it feels like to be knocked down, and we know what we can withstand. And, it ain't nothing that we haven't seen or been in any situation before. So for us, it's just to keep fighting because we know our potential when we do that.
Stephen A., who needs to step up most for Boston?
Well, to me, I'm going to tell you it's Jason Tatum. That's what I'm going to tell you. I understand that you've got role players, and I'm not trying to diminish the significance of what they'll bring to the table or what have you. But when you look at Jason Tatum, this is a guy that's shooting 30% from the field in these finals. He's got to do better than that. He's shooting better from three-point range. But anything inside the three-point line, he's having struggles scoring the basketball. That cannot happen. Now, obviously, game 1, you saw Derek White, you saw Marcus Smart, you saw Al Horford have big games. We get all of that, and you knew that wasn't going to last with Jason Tatum, that he'd respond to some degree offensively in game 2. So one could easily make the argument, well, they won game 1, but they lost game 2, so that should tell you the role players are more important. I beg to differ because I think as the series wanes and we're talking about a championship being on the line, that's who your stars are. It's not to say that you don't get contributions from everybody else. But this is the analogy that I like to use, Doggy. When you go to the negotiating table, I love how players talk about team. When it's time for your representation and you to go into the room to ask for a contract, you ain't thinking about team then. You thinking about you. We have people on professional sports team in the National Basketball Association where a player is getting paid $35, $40 million and a teammate's getting paid too. That does exist. There's a reason that does exist. Because that $2 million player ain't that $40 million player. And there does come a moment in time, particularly during this time of year, where role players matter, team matters, defense matters, coaching matters, but nothing matters more than that dude that you're saying, here's the ball, take me there. Somehow, some way, put the ball in the hole, make the right assist, make the right pass, whatever. Make the right play, steal, whatever. Jordan stripping Karl Malone, then going down and closing the deal against Byron Russell with the push-off. You can bring up Magic Johnson with the baby hook in the lane. You know, Kobe with some big-time shot. It doesn't matter. The point is, big-time players show up in big-time moments. I believe Jason Tatum is a big-time player, and he's got to show up in big-time moments because if nothing else, Steph Curry has shown us in the first 2 games, I'm here, and I ain't going nowhere.
Well, again,
somebody has to answer that call.
I don't know where you're going with that one. Curry had 21 points in the first quarter of Game 1, and he did nothing.
And 13 the rest of the way.
He did
nothing.
Finished
with 34.
He had 13 points in 3 quarters, and they scored 16 points in the fourth quarter. Steve,
he give you 6 threes and 21 points in the first quarter.
Fine, and they lost. They lost.
I understand that.
All right, what did he do in the last 3 quarters? For crying out loud.
What did he do in game 2?
Oh, fine. He played well. Got 100%. I got you. But, you know, the great players supposed to play well all the games. Not
all the games. That's a lie.
To play well.
That's
every
a lie.
Game.
And you
know
your history. You lie. Mad Dog Russo just lied to the American public. He just lied. Excuse me. Bird didn't play great every NBA Finals game. Magic and them lost by 40 in an NBA Finals game and ended up winning that series. He had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as his teammate. He had James Worthy as his teammate. He had Byron Scott as his teammate. And lost by 40. Stop acting like one game makes the series. You just lied to the American public, talking about stars play great every game. Jordan, game 6 against Portland. The reserves came in and balled out before Jordan finished the deal because he wasn't having the greatest game. Stop lying. You just lied to the public.
The Memorial Day Massacre in '85, never forget. Anyway,
there you go.
But the theory about Tatum, Smart, Horford, and Grant Williams combined for 10 points in Game 2. Yeah. 10 points.
That's not good.
It wasn't. Tatum had 28 points. Played well during the ball game. He had, he didn't shoot that great. Terrible shooting, but he had 13 assists in Game 1. Tatum's going to give you what Tatum gives you. And again, you're right. When you get deeper in this series, in the 5th game or 7th game, 4th quarter, like Miami, he's going to have to make a couple of big baskets to get them over the top. 1,000. Nice job. 1,000% correct. But they are not winning. They are not winning this series. If Marcus Smart, Horford, and Williams combined for 10 points in these games, Williams had 6 points, Smart had 2 points, and Horford had 2 points. You can't win that way. Brown shot 5 out of 17. I mean, Pritchard's not going to score enough. Williams is not going to score enough. You got to put the ball in the basket, Steven. That's the name of the game. Put the ball in the basket. That's what Jordan did. That's what Kobe did. You have to. That's what Durant does. Last 6 minutes, 8 minutes, you got to put the ball in. I don't care about defense. You got to put the ball in the basket. And they can't win with 3 guys scoring a combined. They got to score 30, 35 points. They're going to get something out of these 3. That was a horrendous. I know Horford was wonderful in Game 1. I love him. But that was got to be fair. You got to be fair. That was an horrendous performance by the Celtic role guys, and 2 of them start in Game 2. And they are not going to win. I don't care if Tatum scores 50. They are not going to win unless those 3 guys give them some offense. Do the math, Steven. It's not that difficult. You failed already twice. Curry, 21 first quarter, 13 the rest of the game. 70 points combined by the 3 Golden State big players. They lose by 12. They scored 58 in Game 1. Chris, it makes no difference. Yes, it does. Do the math. They can't win with 3 guys, 10 points. Not especially when they scored about 60 in Game 1. It's impossible. They need some help. I expect at home they're going to get it. Go ahead.
Did I not just finish explaining to you in the previous subject that we tackled that sometimes the greatness of a player facilitates great things from role players. I do believe I just explained that to you. So I'm not inconsistent with my message, and I'm not wrong for the second time. I'm actually right. You're wrong, okay? That's a fact. The fact of the matter is, Jason Tatum, when we saw what we saw from them in game one, when he had 13 assists, even though he wasn't shooting the ball well, he was facilitating opportunities for other people because he was drawing attention and he was making the right pass, and it facilitated things for Smart, White, and obviously Al Horford. And Jaylen Brown had a big-time game, particularly in the fourth quarter when he scored about 12, and he was playing lights out to the early part and really pushed that run because they were down 15 and they ended up being up 15. It was a 30-point swing. I am saying that Jason Tatum is such a star. He's that caliber of a star that he's going to draw that attention. And when he draws that attention, that's going to help facilitate opportunities for other dudes like the Whites and the Smarts and the Horfords and others. That's all I'm saying. It's not about his points. It is about his play. Jason Tatum is an all-around basketball player, offensively and defensively. He's got an arsenal that he brings to the table that has a profound impact on the success or lack thereof of the Boston Celtics, depending on what he brings you. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to sit up there and say that the other guys don't matter. I'm saying they need him to facilitate opportunities for them so they can matter as much as Mad Dog Russo claims they need to matter. That is my point. Right. Don't tell me you don't understand it. Don't tell me I'm wrong when you know I'm right. You're going to leave this show and you're going to go on Mad Dog Radio and you're going to say, I got to give it to my boy Stevie. I got to give it to him. He's absolutely right. He's made a good point. I didn't want to admit it, but it was true.
I won't do that today.
All right, let me ask you this. You sound a little concerned about Boston and the role players and the whole thing.
I am.
So are you a little nervous about these picks now?
Well, I picked the Celtics in 6. Stevie picked the Warriors in 7. Mm-hmm. The smart, normal, conventional, no-risk pick, and that's what Stevie did. He went the easy way.
He always goes talk. He always goes talk, and he always goes the front runner.
My 17-year-old who doesn't even know.
Thank you for your exceptional moderating, Molly. Take it side, swinging with the dude in the studio.
Do you want me to also tell you the teams he's fan of? Alabama.
Oh, I know, it's a
Yankees,
joke.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
All these great teams.
He's a front runner.
Oh, he sure is. And so the easy thing.
The Steelers, I'm a front runner. The Knicks, I'm a front runner.
You're a front runner. When did you become a fan?
I
was a Steelers fan in 1973.
When they won the Super Bowl, when Franco made the American, when Franco made the
Super Bowl in 73. They didn't win the Super Bowl in 73.
When the ball is in the air off the deflection, Stevie said, "I'm a Steeler fan."
Yeah,
that doesn't
exactly.
count. My gosh!
Come on, Boston Steve, you know what it is. Don't even try it.
This dude right here, Mad Dog Russo, who's doing New York radio at the time, and he's a San Francisco Giants fan, loving Barry Bonds. That Mad Dog Russo is calling me a front runner. You got to be kidding me.
When the Giants ever win?
That is true.
Years. They never won a thing.
They were competitive. They won the Yankees, of course.
All right, are you nervous? Are you still, like right now, if I let you have a do-over, would you still be saying Boston in 6?
Well, I would keep it because of the fact they have home court. But I think, again, conservatively, let's give Stevie A little credit. Right now, I think you have to figure that Golden State is going to be able to win a game in Boston. Milwaukee did. Miami did. They shoot the ball too well. Curry's great. Thompson plays a little better. You have to figure in the next 2 games, they will eke out a close win, which then throws it back in Boston's scenario where they have to win another game on the road. I don't know.
Which they've done plenty of.
But this is different.
Okay.
This is not the Miami Arena when they flock out of there in the fourth quarter. This is a little different. And this is not Milwaukee when Middleton wasn't playing.
Don't throw shade. Don't throw shade. The Miami fans are not out of the arena. They're actually in the arena because there's a club in the arena.
You would know.
They don't leave the arena. They just go to the club. I would.
So the 2 games that they're going to have to win another game in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if they do that. They've been great on the road. I'll still stick with it. But if my life was on the line,
you want to switch to the Warriors.
I'm not going to because
you
that's
do, but you want to. I can tell.
And I don't want to agree with him.
I'm staying with Boston in 6. All right, Stephen A., you feel good about your front-running pick?
I've never felt good about it. I think this is a pick'em series, as I've said. I'm going with the Warriors in 7 games. But I respect the hell out of the Boston Celtics. I know what a legitimate threat they are. And I fully expect this series, in all seriousness, guys, to be tied going into Game 5. I think they split in Boston. I think Boston win once. I think Golden State win once. They go back to San Francisco, tied 2-2 in a best of 3. They protect their home courts in games 5 and 6, and we have a game 7 back at the Chase Center in San Francisco.
Okay.
That's what I believe is going to be the case because I believe, and because I look at the Boston Celtics, and to me, there's 2 things they have going for you that you simply can't ignore. They're an elite team defensively, and they travel. They go on the road. They walk into your house and they beat you. They beat Milwaukee. They obviously swept Brooklyn. Okay, they got KD home watching First Take. Okay, you beat.
And he does
Milwaukee.
watch.
You beat. Of course he does. You beat Milwaukee, and you know Jason Tatum drops 46.
A return for the 2024 season for an additional $30 million guaranteed, sources telling Adam Schefter. Aaron, talk to me.
How'd you get an opportunity of trying to win another Super Bowl? So back to the beginning stages of that and ready to work for it. I'm just happy to be here and ready to go to work. It's about winning to me, you know, and the pieces is here for that to, you know, come to fruition and for me to be a piece to the puzzle and be here right now, it's a blessing.
Stephen A., are the Rams now the team to beat in the NFC?
I think so. Well, first of all, they're the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. Have we forgotten that? Secondly, they got Robert Woods coming back, along with still keeping Cooper Kupp, along with Matthew Stafford being back. Now you got Aaron Donald back. I know they lost Von Miller to Buffalo, but the bottom line is I'm going to say the Rams are the team to beat in the NFC by default. Number one, we don't know whether Gronk is coming back in Tampa Bay, so Brady's primary weapon is not there, and Chris Godwin
Stephen A., don't forget, Woods is on the Titans now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. You're right. You're absolutely right. But I totally forgot about that. So I'm sorry. I appreciate the correction, Molly. But you still got Cooper Kupp in L.A. But here's the deal. It's by default. When I look at San Francisco, you got a quarterback issue. Okay, because Garoppolo is not healthy, plus you don't know if he's the guy, and Trey Lance is young. Russell Wilson is gone in Seattle. Arizona's got issues with Kyler Murray and his contract situation and what they want to do with their future. In the South, Drew Brees is retired. Jameis Winston has to prove he's that guy, and Sean Payton is no longer their head coach, even though their defense is real, okay? And don't get me started with Carolina. I'm not sold, and the Atlanta Falcons are clearly rebuilding, and Matt Ryan is no longer there. In the NFC North, we got Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, that bad man. I still believe he is that dude. But there is no Devontae Adams. Valdez-Scantling is gone as well. And so what weapons are you going to be throwing the football to? Is it Lazard? Who the hell are you going to be throwing the football to? We'll figure that out. Minnesota still got Kirk Cousins. Last time I checked, maybe I'm wrong. Something else has happened, and I'm paying attention to basketball. But I'm not enamored with Minnesota. I damn sure ain't enamored with Chicago. Justin Fields is still too young, even though I think he's got tremendous promise. And I'm being nice today. The Detroit Lions are the Detroit Lions. We'll just leave it at that. We won't go there. And then in the NFC East, am I supposed to sit up there and tell you that the Dallas Cowboys are going to do something? I mean, it's June, so I could say that and lie to everybody and then turn around in September and tell you how they're going to wet the bed. But I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to tell you that's not going to happen. Okay, Philadelphia Eagles, you got A.J. Brown from Tennessee, but Jalen Hurts is still a question mark. I don't even like the name of the Washington football team, the Boring Commodores or whatever, okay? I mean, I was getting ready to say Commodores or Lionel Richie, but I ain't going to go there. Hello. The Commanders are right. I'm just saying. Gosh. Commanders, but I say Commodores. I was just saying that. I know it's the Commanders. I mean, I'm not sold. And then you look at the Giants. Listen, Dable's there now. but there's still huge question marks about Daniel Jones. So I'm just looking at scouring the NFC, and I'm saying, why would we definitively be able to say the Rams shouldn't be prohibitive favorites since they're the reigning defending Super Bowl champions and they still got Matthew Stafford and they still got Aaron Donald? Why can't we do that? And Jalen Ramsey. Let me not forget him, too.
Christopher?
Well, you can't say prohibitive. That's a little strong. I mean, they barely got through last year. They could have lost in Tampa, and they certainly could have lost to San Francisco. Oh, they could have lost to San Francisco twice.
Did they win?
Now, come on.
Did they win?
Prohibitive. What
Did
are they? 60, they're not the 62 Packers. Take it easy. I mean, Mike.
Who were the 62 Packers? I mean, who were they? I don't remember. I wasn't born, okay?
Lombardi's best team.
I mean, did they play with Did they play with hard hat helmets, or did they have those soft leather helmets? I mean, what was? I don't remember, doggy.
Paul Hornung, Jim Taylor, and Bart Starr. Ray Nitschke, Yankee Stadium, they won a championship game 16-7. Won 13-1. They lost one game that year at Detroit on Thanksgiving when Starr got sacked 14 times. That is it. It's one of the great teams in the history of the National Football League. You can take any team you want.
Can I ask a question? May I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Because I want to get to modern times, and I want you to get to your point. But I just want to harken back to that team you just brought up, the Green Bay Packers in 1962. Did you just say that they had a quarterback that got sacked 14 times in one game?
In a game. Thanksgiving in Detroit, 23-14.
14 times he got sacked?
I think it was 13, 14. Yes, Starr got pounded. You know how good the Lions were?
And you're bringing that team up to discuss today's game.
You know how good the Lions were?
How much time are we going to spend on stats from the 1960s? Let's get it together. It's 2022. Can you talk to me about teams like Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay, Tom Brady's back?
I'm surprised
about the NFC. I love football. Why?
That is the body.
Oh, my goodness. All respect. I just like to talk about reality, what's currently happening, not history.
There's only two teams.
Let's fast forward to present times, please.
Okay.
We're a hot mess today.
Listen to him. There's 62. Look them up. Anyway, there's only two teams. Look at Hornung and Taylor.
I got better things to do with my time. Go ahead.
You're doing nothing all day before you rehearse it for that show tonight. Look them up. Anyway.
He doesn't rehearse.
I know he does.
Don't worry about that.
There's only two teams in the NFC.
I don't need to.
That you can predict that can beat that or that could be better than the Rams. Tampa's one and Green Bay's two.
Yeah.
Dallas is not, McCarthy, Prescott, Stevie's right. Jalen Hurts, I don't believe in. There's nobody in the NFC North. Lance is not the answer. Murray's got a lot to prove. Seattle's terrible. There's only two teams. The NFC is terrible. See it. The NFC stinks. But there's only two teams that could thwart the Rams. And I'm going to think one of them will. Because I think the Rams are going to have a major hangover. Okay. I think when you win that Super Bowl and they were not a dominant team, I think there's a hangover. I mean, McVay got married. Donald got his...
Congratulations.
A couple days ago. And obviously, Donald made a fortune. But there's no Beckham for a while with the ACL. They do lose Robert Woods. Yeah. The left tackle retires. So I think that's an issue for the Rams. Throw in the fact they got a brutal schedule. Open with Buffalo, at Kansas City, at Green Bay. That's a lot to ask. I think the Rams make the playoffs. 10-7, 11-6, but I do not think right now to call them a prohibitive favorite is a little strong, Stevie. You're smarter than that. Yeah. That's a prohibitive favorite. My goodness, they barely beat Cincinnati.
By default,
I think that you can make them
because of the NFC.
Well, are they better than Tampa?
Because of the NFC.
They're much better than Tampa. Why are they so much better than Tampa?
Well, Vegas has them third, in case anyone cares. So they have Green Bay and Tampa
ahead of the Rams.
Both ahead of the Rams.
All right, well, I'll go with the same thing.
I'll stand corrected. I'll stand corrected. I'll take out the word prohibitive and just leave them as favorites. But outside of that, Sean McVay, congratulations to him. Once again, impeccable decision-making on his part. Sean McVay, way to go. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Did you send him a bottle of
decision making.
I will. No, he didn't send him
his decision making is impeccable. I will send him a bottle of champagne. As a matter of fact, Molly, you pick it out and send me the bill. Send me the bill. Send me the bill, please.
Write the note, too. Congratulations, Stephen A.
Oh, I don't know what's just happened
62 Packers. Look them up.
Okay. And much more serious news here, gentlemen. The New York Times with a devastating report regarding Deshaun Watson. This story just keeps getting worse by the day. What does the NFL need to do? Stephen A. and Russo tackle that. And Mad Dog has a list coming up that you don't want to miss. The age-old argument, the NBA is not as tough as it used to be. Where does Draymond Green rank among the toughest players all time? Stick around.
Steven, you knew I was coming. You've been asking me to come for 3, 4, 5 years. You knew I was coming, and you ain't want to show up.
It is super player's fault, but just the way the game is called and the kind of thing that could get you a technical or to get you ejected, that didn't exist back in the day. And so because of that, that's why you hear people taking it with a grain of salt, because they know but so much is going to be allowed. When he's talking about a double tech, that doesn't equate to an ejection. We get all of that, but what he's saying is you got to stand up. This guy is an energizer bunny. He can be physical. He's an elite defender, and a lot of people are looking at game 2 and what transpired against us and saying, you know what, he got in everybody's faces and he rattled the Boston Celtics. You're the coach of the Celtics and you're saying you're going to let that happen? You're just going to stand there and have this man run all over you and ultimately lead the Golden State Warriors to a championship? Are you out your mind? Handle your business. That's basically what he's doing. You know the crowd in Boston at TD Bank Garden is going to show up. We know all about Boston fans and how rabid they can get. The team usually feeds off that energy. At least they did during the regular season, even though they've struggled somewhat on the road. At home during the postseason. We'll see what happens tonight. I expect them to stand up and to make some noise and to send a message. We're not going to be pushed around, but that might be playing right into Draymond's hands because he is a brilliant basketball player. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Let me then frame this sort of, JJ, for you as best I can, because both you and Brian Windhorst earlier were sort of downplaying. How much of a factor is this? How would you describe the impact that Draymond Green is having on this series, on the floor and psychologically?
Psychologically, way less than what he did on the floor in game 2. We mentioned the stat, Tatum and Brown 1 for 10. And it wasn't just that, it was the physicality. There were multiple times where he switched onto Tatum in a pick and roll. One time all the way at half court, he got him sped up. That led to 2 turnovers. First play of the game, he brought it. He tied up Al Horford, forced a jump ball. That's the force that Ime Udoka is talking about. It's not the chippiness. It's not the elbows and the talking during dead balls. It's what he's doing on the floor. That's ultimately what's having an impact on the game.
So the chippiness is what Stephen A. and I are talking about, and that might be just a function of being a little older and remembering when the sport was played differently, as he and I do. So to take it back to that, Cedric Maxwell after game 2. Stephen A., I want to play the Cedric Maxwell and have you react to that. Cedric Maxwell was talking about the Draymond and Brown incident and said back in the 80s and 90s, Draymond would have been knocked out for those kind of actions. Draymond Green responded to that. Here's what he said.
I have a huge appreciation for those guys. I saw what Cedric Maxwell said. And, you know, one thing that baffles me about the 80s or the 90s or whatever you want to call when basketball was so much more physical is some of the guys that be talking weren't the guys that was punching people. You know, like they act like, you know, guys was just walking around the court like I'm hitting this guy in the nose.
So that was how Draymond responded to it. Stephen A., what do you think of that?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, if you don't mind, I'll take a left turn for a quick second by saying that from now on, when I appear on Get Up, I want to appear on Get Up just where I'm at right now. I love myself on this big screen. I just think that I look great on it. So from now on, I'm making that request. Let's get that out the way. This screen is made for me. Okay. Now, having said all of that, let me say this. You know, Draymond makes a point, and I think that what we have to understand is that there are people, including myself, that have lamented the softening of the game. What people need to understand is that we're not calling these players soft. What we're saying is the rules changes and the things that have taken place and the kind of things that you may complain about and want in your favor from an officiating standpoint and beyond in today's game was, I mean, my God, what would have happened back then? The latitude that you had back in the day in terms of the level of physicality that was exacted from one player against another, that day is gone, and it's gone forever in the NBA. So that's what people are talking about. But it doesn't diminish the point that Draymond Green was making. You got guys from back in the day talking about what it was like to play, and they're acting like they were the ones being physical on the basketball court, when that may not have been the case. I remember when Tree Rollins once hit Lionel Hollins. Lionel Hollins hit him back and then literally ran in the stands to run away from Tree Rollins. So there were tough guys, and then there were guys that weren't necessarily so tough, depending on who they were going up against. And I can appreciate where Draymond's coming from with all of that.
As a current player, if you will, I mean, one who played so recently, you hear this all the time. Sure. How do the players of today, Draymond just vocalized it, how do the players today feel when they hear people saying, oh, the game was so much tougher back when they played it?
Well, I would never diminish the physicality of the 90s or diminish the physicalities of the 80s. And it was a different era. And from a business perspective, it was. And you can make the argument that the softening of the NBA, as Stephen A. called it, has been really good for the league, has been really good for the owners, and has been really good for the players. The revenues have gone consistently up. David Stern did a great job of deciding to market superstars. Mm-hmm. And then after the Malice in the Palace, he decided to get really strict about on-court and off-court behavior, and that has been good for the league's bottom line. That's the reality, Stephen.
Go ahead, Steve.
That is that's the reality, but that doesn't mean that Commissioner Stern, God rest his soul, all right, was absolutely correct in everything that he did, because let's understand what we're talking about here. You could have guys that'll get in a scuffle and just swing their arms at each other and then get each other's face, and that's a technical foul. You do find yourself saying sometimes, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it is a bit excessive and it is a bit extreme. That's what we're talking about, the softening of the game. You're not going to be able to throw a punch. You're not going to, I mean, you're talking about people getting shoved.
But you want guys to be able to throw a punch, Stephen A? Is that what you want to see in an NBA Finals game?
Time out. No,
better, I'm asking you.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
So what do you want to see? You just don't want to see it technical. You just don't want to see it technical if guys are scuffling.
No. What I'm saying is if Draymond or another player is getting inside somebody's head, getting in their face, and antagonizing them, I don't think that should warrant a technical foul. As long as there's no fisticuffs, what's the problem? Being an irritant can mess with stuff. You got to be mentally strong just as well as physically, which you know better than me.
Game 2. I don't know why we've spent 3 days talking about this. I really don't. It had zero impact on the game.
Because there were people complaining that Draymond Green. It wasn't me. It wasn't
and
you.
It's the same people. And it's the same people that are complaining about the league getting soft.
JJ,
you can't have it both ways.
I got news for you. You don't get to talk and not listen, bro. You got to listen too. What I'm saying is that there were people who felt Draymond Green should have been ejected. We disagreed. But based on the way today's game is called, they're saying, where's the consistency? I disagree. I think that Draymond Green should have stayed in the game. Should not have been ejected. But there were people who were saying otherwise. That's why it was talked about.
And not only that, but if he did not already have a technical foul, they would have given double technicals to him and Jaylen Brown in that circumstance for sure. And they, as Jeff Van Gundy said on the telecast, selectively officiated the situation because they didn't want to throw him out of the game. And I'm fine with that so long as everyone else is fine with that. I think that the overriding point that we're making, no, not that anyone wants anyone to punch anyone in the playoffs, but there is a degree. The softening of the game, a lot of it comes from the constant complaining to the officials, the constant whining, the constant selling
Michael Jordan didn't complain to the officials.
Michael Jordan.
Larry Bird didn't. Come on, guys.
He wasn't selling calls.
This nostalgia that you have for the 80s and 90s, like a great era of basketball. It's awesome. But it's at the expense of our generation of players, and it has been for the last 15 years. And it's annoying. That's annoying, Stephen.
That is a joke. That is a joke. You got to be clear. It's an absolute joke.
You know it's true, man.
It's not true. It's not true. Today, at the expense of today's players.
But the players in the 90s didn't complain. Gary Payton didn't complain.
Nobody said they didn't complain.
Come on, man.
We all know. We all know that Jordan complained. We all know that Magic complained. That's where you lose your argument. You can't find people, Magic Johnson and others didn't complain. Magic Johnson and them were complaining all the time about
our generation of players complains, and that's
nobody said that.
Those guys didn't complain on
nobody said that.
Every single play when they did or didn't get a call. They also weren't selling.
Did you watch the Spurs dynasty? You're telling me Tim Duncan didn't complain all the time?
Well, that was a lot more recently than we're talking about.
That was the 90s.
Second of all, well, I mean, the dynasty really was in the 2000s.
And when he did, we complained about him complaining.
Huh? I didn't hear that.
When he did complain, we complained about him complaining. We told players stop whining back then, too.
There's also
so why should y'all be absolved from it?
The whole concept.
I'm not saying we should be absolved from it. I'm saying
Okay.
the standard that you guys have set, this nostalgic standard that you've set for players in the 80s and 90s, and then comparing us to it all the time, like we are a substandard to that, it gets annoying. And a lot of your arguments, like complaining to the officials, that's the same thing that players did back then. And if you want to watch finals games that are 75 to 72, by all means, have your nostalgic era, please.
No. The nostalgic era that we're talking about, that we're lamenting, is not players complaining. Not me, anyway. What I'm saying is that the officials shouldn't be looking to tee up people and eject dudes just for getting in each other's face when obviously there's no fisticuffs taking place. And that's a problem. What are you talking about?
They did in game two. They did it in game two.
Not in game two, right?
Them.
I thought we were talking about the game. I didn't thought we were talking about game two now. I thought we were talking about the overall old era compared to now. That's where I thought you were when you brought up the other names.
The point is, they have made a lot of changes in the sport.
You comprehend what you're saying?
I'll see you in like an hour.
I'll see you. Are you sure? Are you sure? You going to be ready?
I'm ready.
You going to be ready?
10:55. I'll see you at 10:55.
All right. Nobody's scared of you.
I'm not scared of you either.
I'll see you at 11 o'clock.
Stephen has his sleeves rolled up.
I wish I was there.
I'm going to have to jump in here like an official. I'm going to have to tee up both of you before first take starts. Okay, there's double tees. I'm calling double tees before first take starts. If it gets too ugly, you're...
Massage appointments with at least 66 different women in 17 months from the fall of 2019 through spring of 2021. A few of these additional women speaking publicly for the first time described experiences that undercut Watson's insistence he was only seeking professional massage therapy. One woman, who did not sue Watson, told the Times he was persistent in his requests for sexual acts, including begging her to put her mouth on his penis. The Times review also showed Watson's conduct was enabled, knowingly or not, by the team he played for at the time, the Houston Texans, who provided the venue Watson used for some of his appointments. A team representative also furnished him with a non-disclosure agreement after a woman who is now suing him threatened to expose his behavior. Rusty Hardin, who's Watson's lawyer, said in a statement, "We can say when the real facts are known, this issue will appear in a different light." The Texans said they first learned of the allegations against him in the March of 2021. They've cooperated with investigators and will continue to do so. The Browns had no comment, and the NFL only would say the matter is under review. Watson's only response Tuesday was to post rap lyrics on his Instagram about denying rumors. In March, when the Browns traded for Watson and signed him to a record $230 million guaranteed contract, they said they did their due diligence on those allegations. All right, a lot to unpack here as the story continues to unfold with more coming out seemingly each day. I'll start with you, Christopher. How do the Browns look now after this New York Times report signing him to a record-breaking deal in light of all this?
The Browns, like the Panthers, Saints, and Falcons, who all wanted Watson on the team, they are going to put team ahead of morality. Watson's a good quarterback. They haven't won in 100 years. Mayfield wasn't the answer. So they're going to hope this blows away. And once the season starts, we'll all forget. And there'll be 75,000 at First Energy Field. And Watson will lead his team down the field for a touchdown. So to me, as an owner, the question is this. Is there a moral responsibility to put morality ahead of winning? Your quarterback is the most important player on your team. Do you want your quarterback to be a decent citizen, an upstanding citizen, or do you want your quarterback to be in the maraise right now than Watson is with the New York Times? I would like to think, as an owner, I'd say, you know what, I want to win and my fans want to win, but I can't be a laughingstock with having a guy who's a miscreant be my team leader. So I would go the other way. Let Mayfield be the quarterback. That's easy for me to say. It's not my franchise. The Browns did nothing here. Haslam did nothing. The ownership did nothing. They never interviewed any of these women. The two who were on Real Sports last week said they were never commented, never talked to by Haslam. And the NFL, and we've gotten to this...
You mean in regards to them saying they did due diligence and did interviews?
They didn't do anything. The Browns did nothing. They did nothing. They hoped that... You know what they did? There was no criminal charges, and they took the NFL's lead. They let the NFL do the dirty work, and the NFL has done nothing yet, which is something I can't understand, and I keep on bringing up the baseball. Trevor Bauer had all these problems in baseball. Yeah. So baseball put him on administrative leave where he got paid for over a year. Once the criminal proceedings were done and the Pasadena Police Department and the judge out there in L.A. threw it out, baseball then was left to make a decision of what to do to Bauer. What do? They suspended him for 2 years without pay. $41 million a year. $41 million. What has the NFL done with Watson? Basically, they've told us what we're thinking about what to do with the Pro Bowl. I mean, why is the NFL year after year after year always reactive instead of proactive? Ray Rice, Randy Gregory. They're always
We talked about this yesterday. It seems like they don't act until there's a tape.
Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
I mean, what, the New York Times can do a 3-month investigation and find 66 women, and Roger Goodell's team that's worth trillions can't do a thing? Why is he on the franchise right now? Why doesn't the NFL say, hey, here's the deal, Deshaun, you're on administrative leave. You're not playing any football. Plan on not playing until we determine where your legality stands. So you're not playing in training camp, not playing in... Why hasn't Goodell done this? He hasn't. What is he waiting for? The New York Times, 66 women, Real Sports with Gumbel. When is he waiting for to say, you know what, I got to make a stand here? He's not playing until I feel comfortable that he has at least admitted some culpability. He's done nothing. And the NFL has done a horrendous job. I think the bigger issue, which Steve and I here is going to discuss, is what is the owner's responsibility? Those fans in Cleveland, once the season starts, they want to win. They're paying a fortune to win, so they'll put up with Watson. They don't care. They want to go to the game on Sunday afternoon, have their 4 beers, go to the stadium, and watch the Browns win. That's what they want. And the owner knows that. So it is the owner's responsibility to put the best product on the field, and Watson's obviously better than Mayfield, or is the owner's responsibility, and there were 3 other ones in this case, including my buddy Blank in Atlanta, is his responsibility, you know what? Listen, I want to win, but I'm not going to win this way. The hell with it. We'll go somewhere else. That is the question I think that maybe Stephen A. can help us answer.
There's a lot to address here. First of all, Doggy, we don't disagree on much of what you said, of anything of what you said, really. But I'm going to expand upon the thoughts. First of all, my focus is on the National Football League. I don't want the National Football League trying to act like they're law enforcement. That opens up a Pandora's box. And we've got so many people in our society that look to the sports league to make sure that morality is addressed and all of this other stuff. Well, that's a slippery slope because there's no consistent policies out there. And we've lamented that about numerous sports leagues over the years. I mean, we're going to talk about golf a little bit later. You know what? The tournament, the LIV tournament that's coming up, is being sponsored by Saudi Arabians. And we know their issues with human rights. So we got to understand that when you leave it up to the leagues, as it pertains to being a law enforcement arm, acting as if they're the judicial system, that's a dangerous slope. I don't like it one bit. I think it's very simple for the National Football League. All of this stuff are invading the news and invading the headlines. That makes our product look bad. You ain't playing, period. It doesn't take a lengthy investigation to reach that conclusion. You find yourself in that kind of situation, you can't play. It's got to get resolved because we're not going to have you making our product look bad. Whether you're innocent like you claim or guilty like they claim, the bottom line is we don't know. But what we do know is that your situation has dramatically impugned the integrity of our league, and we cannot have you being a part of that. It's very, very simple. That's all you have to do if you're the National Football League. What the procrastination about is I don't understand it. I don't comprehend it. I don't get it. And again, with all of these cases, it looks incredibly bad for Deshaun Watson. His camp will tell you, read the reports. You'll understand it's nonsense. It's ridiculous. All of that stuff. The bottom line is when you have these amount of women coming at you this way, it just looks very, very, very bad. There's just no other way around it, okay? No matter what level of innocence you claim, it's hard to get past 22 women, then 24 women, and now New York Times saying 66 women in 17 months. I mean, damn. And you just can't say anything in his defense right now. What I will say to you is this. Getting to the Cleveland Browns, I don't want to hear this about the Cleveland Browns, not without pointing the finger at those fans. We got to stand up and accept culpability for our role in all of this. If you Haslam, what you supposed to do, doggy? The Cleveland Browns went to the conference finals with Bernie Kosar and those boys. You remember that, in 1989. Ladies and gentlemen, that is now 33 years ago. The Cleveland Browns have been in the playoffs 3 times. What you think the owner's concerned about? He's trying to win because they've been addicted to losing and ineptitude and being moribund and awful. And the fact of the matter is you have a fan base come September, no matter what they say, they're not going to give 2 cents about the situation with Deshaun Watson if he could get out on that field and win football games. That is sad. And you could say it's a sad commentary, but don't stop at the owner of the Cleveland Browns. Look at the fans that's going to show up to, what is it? It's Energy Stadium, whatever the hell the name of that stadium is. I didn't look it up at this particular moment in time. They're going to pack in there right off of Lake Erie, no matter how damn cold it is, to watch that team. And guess what? If it wasn't them, it was going to be. I was told it was about 12 to 13 other teams that were vying for the services of Deshaun Watson. The fact is, if the NFL didn't put the mandate down that prohibited any team from signing him, 13 to 14 teams were lined up, ready to sign him. So what's Haslam supposed to do under those situations? You can bring in morality, and you're not wrong. And there are some people that would say under no circumstances would we take this. But in a world of professional sports, with millions upon millions at stake for $1 billion conglomerate, these decisions are made every day where morality is shoved aside in favor of the bottom line interest.
But this isn't just morality.
Let's stop acting like we don't know that.
It's illegal.
We all know that. Excuse me?
It's not just morality. It's also illegal to force a woman to perform a sexual act against her will. So that's also.
Oh my Lord. Of course it's illegal, Molly. If he's guilty of it, there are no criminal charges.
Okay, I'm just saying, based on the New York Times article, what I detailed, if that's true, I'm not combating what you're saying. I'm just wrapping up the segment. I'm saying it's more than morality. That would actually be illegal if that is found to be true.
But that's
illegal behavior. And I have to say one thing that would be great for Haslam to do.
Haslam signed it before this.
You know what I'd love Haslam to do, which would have been fantastic, if he chose to speak with one of the 24 accusers. That would have been excellent. Maybe if he spoke to even just one of the women, if the Browns thought.
Molly, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
May I ask you a question? The fact that he did it, what does that tell you? Answer quickly, because I got another question.
That he doesn't care about the women.
Okay, all right.
That he doesn't care about it. He just cares about the football.
Let me ask you a question. When have we accused them of caring about anything other than their bottom line?
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. We've religiously lamented this. Am I right, Doggy?
And when's the last time the Browns have ever been good? And they've had a revolving door at quarterback.
So last question to you, Molly. So what changes? So last question to you, Molly. What changes that? Because I would say the fans do. If you don't show up and support that team, he wouldn't have signed them. He did it because he know they're going to show up.
Well, I think things that might change that are things like the New York Times reporting this blockbuster story that 66 different women and the public outcry and Roger Goodell actually being forced to step up and do something about this.
That's fair.
So that might also change.
Let me close this by saying this, and I'm going to step out on a limb. I'll speak for Molly on this and Doggy on this and everybody that's out there with football. I promise you, if the National Football League was in its present position, like right now, doing nothing, and the season started today, the day after the New York Times report, the stadium would be packed. Packed. Today.
Maybe that's just not even where my mind is, though. I can't even think.
I'm just saying
think about football.
But that's Haslam in them. I'm saying it's not where our mind is. That's Haslam. That's an owner. That's what so it's like, the NFL has to do something because all these owners would do it. They can say whatever they want. They would all do it.
Would you be comfortable if you were the owner doing that?
Hell no.
Nor would I.
Yeah.
Winning isn't worth it.
No.
To them, it always has been.
Now,
they repeatedly show us this.
Those fans will show up.
All right.
Every one of them.
They're going to
Every one of them. They pack the stadium. and ignore the New York Times
article. We continue
article.
to talk about this story every day. It's become the most dominant story of the offseason because new news and new women are coming out
Where is
every
the NFL?
single day. I have no idea.
What are they doing?
I'm so confused.
I don't care about the Pro Bowl. We're not interested.
I'm baffled.
Make a decision. Do something.
The NFL has the ability to make decisions. Unlike anybody else, the NFL could snap their fingers and make a decision. They have not made a decision in a year. In a year.
That's a travesty.
I don't know. Maybe when it gets to 25 women, they will. All right, we'll leave it there. When we come back here on First Take, Aaron Rodgers wants to retire in Green Bay. Wait till you hear Stephen A's take on